Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Minister, Director General of the Oecs, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good day. Around the world, in the Eastern Caribbean and the wider Caribbean region, a very warm welcome to you all. Welcome to the launch of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Thank you for joining us today as we race to the sun and harness its abundance that the Caribbean is blessed with. My name is Lena Oecs, and I have the pleasure to be your moderator today. I work with the NDC Finance Initiative as a consultant of the German International Cooperation Agency, GIZ, more specifically GIZ's NDC Assist program, which is commissioned by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Collaboration and Development, by BMZ. I have the honor today to be introducing some formidable speakers from the OECS, from OECS member states, and from international partners in the NDCFI. May I be permitted to name them in order of program rather than protocol, to also give you a bit of an idea of the flow of today's program. Today's official launch of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge will be opened by Dr. Didacus Jules, Director General of the OECS. His opening will be followed by the Honorable Dr. Gail T.C. Rigobert, Minister of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development of St. Lucia. And then it is time for the OECS Commission to proudly present the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. The presentation will be followed by statements from some of the key partners of the NDCFI, Mr. Pablo Vieira, Global Director of the NDC Partnership Support Unit, and Ms. Patricia Espinoza, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Of course, we will also want to hear from you, and we will then have a poll question. We'll be asking you, what would be the biggest incentives for your investment in solar energy? It is 2021, and many of us are looking to COP26 in Glasgow at the end of the year. We're very grateful to have Her Excellency Fiona Clowder, UK COP26 Ambassador for Latin America and the Caribbean, with us today. Her inputs will be followed by today's keynote address from the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada. Solarizing the Caribbean is, of course, a project for all sectors, and the private sector certainly has a big role to play. We are therefore very happy to welcome Rob Wallace as a speaker today. He is the CEO and co-founder of Power 52 Energy Solutions. Excuse me. Before we then get to the official launch of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge and back to Dr. Didacus Jules, we'll have another poll question for you. This time, we'll want to hear what are some of the barriers, some of the challenges to solar installation that you see. Following the official launch, we are then very much looking forward to a number of statements from NDCFI partners on their support for the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Before I now hand over to Dr. Didacus Jules for his opening remarks, a quick word on networking and engagement. While time, unfortunately, will not allow us to open the mic to participants during the launch session, there are already a number of follow-up events in planning when you will get the floor. So please do stay tuned for word on those. In the meantime, we look forward to your poll inputs, of course, and we do invite you to engage in the chats, to introduce yourselves and to connect with others. You'll also have the opportunity to mingle in a very 2021 kind of a way in the virtual exhibition hall through which most of you would have entered this session. There you'll find a dedicated networking space, and there's also an option to connect and meet with individual people. But for now, Dr. Didacus Jules, may I hand over to you for your opening remarks of the official launch of the NDCFI Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Dr. Jules, the floor is yours.
Chair of the Council of Ministers of Environment and Sustainability, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, Minister of Cooperatives and Environment, St. Kitts and Nevis, distinguished ministers and members of the Oecs Council of Ministers, representatives of development partner countries and organizations, permanent secretaries and other senior technical officers of ministries of environment in Oecs member states, other invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am very pleased to open this official launch of the Oecs Solar Challenge, Race to the Sun, which in many ways epitomizes the theme of the commemoration of the Oecs 40th anniversary, Onward with Integration for Progress and Sustainability. As a group of developing small island states, we have long recognized our inherent vulnerabilities, and recent events have underscored the interconnectedness of our islands, systems, and processes. At the same time, these events have also highlighted the opportunities for cooperation in the region and have demonstrated the resilience of our people. The added challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to resuscitate our economies amidst a global downturn have further strained our limited resources. Our region, like the rest of the planet, is in dire need of energy and climate solutions that provide multiple benefits, help underpin our long-term sustainable development strategies, and contribute to our near-term COVID-19 pandemic recovery efforts. A significant part of the Oecs region's GDP is spent on imported fossil fuels, and the resulting high cost of energy is a major hurdle for competitiveness, particularly in the tourism and manufacturing sectors. And this stymies our overall economic growth and development. In the same vein, the Oecs is particularly vulnerable to the threats posed by the impacts of climate change, which have been vividly demonstrated in the disastrous effects of recent Category 5 hurricanes, reducing socioeconomic gains over decades to mere piles of rubble. Increased use of sustainable energy, such as renewable energy, could contribute to addressing both problems. Achieving an increased level of energy independence, diversification of our energy sources, and reduction of energy prices will further provide a positive domino effect that will ultimately improve the overall quality of life in our region and support our resilience goals. To this end, since the start of this millennium, our Oecs member states have been working assiduously on developing and implementing ambitious climate change and sustainable energy policies and strategies. The transition away from a fossil fuel-based economy to cleaner energy sources is well within our reach. However, based on scientific assessments to date, we have developed only a fraction of our indigenous renewable energy resources. And there are several reasons for this, but our response should include a healthy balance between the use of mature and proven technologies and modern and innovative approaches. These will redound to, among other things, ease of implementation, affordability, social acceptance, and quick returns on our investments. Solar energy fits the bill for all of these criteria, and our geographic location, which delivers high solar irradiation, makes the use of solar energy technology an obvious choice for all member states. As an ad on the television in St. Lucia years ago said, the sun sends no bills. Furthermore, solar energy currently holds the greatest market share and has the potential for widest application and adoption across sectors and at various levels. It can help to meet the growing demand for energy while diversifying the energy generation mix to facilitate development. It is therefore not surprising that solar energy targets form a vital part of our sustainable energy policies and our climate change commitments. In this respect, the Eastern Caribbean Solar Channel, birthed under the Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative, the Ndcfi, supporting NDC and NDC-like aspirations, is a most fitting complementary intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, the goal of the Oecs Solar Challenge is clear and targeted, and it is simply to increase the deployment of solar energy technologies across the Eastern Caribbean to enhance climate resilience and to maintain global temperature increase below 1.5 degrees Celsius. The Solar Challenge will add impetus to solar development through regional cooperation across public and private sectors in the Oecs. It provides a new and enhanced level of awareness raising and partnering for solar energy that can foster the needed mainstreaming of solar energy for the region. Rightfully implemented, it will lead to financing institutions in the region having increased interest in facilitating easier access to capitalization of renewable energy investments for residences, businesses, and institutions in support of desired levels of solar uptake. Consequently, we can anticipate increased demand for providers of solar products and services, leading to an environment of business and entrepreneurship among our young persons in particular for a revolution of new green jobs. We anticipate the coming together of our business community to develop and adopt innovative business models. Additionally, we see an opportunity to explore regional trade and pool procurement where we can leverage economies of scale and lessons learned from successful joint ventures, such as our Oecs pharmaceutical procurement services. I therefore take this opportunity to invite everyone to join in this challenge where we can all be winners. Let us forge ahead and surmount the new and remaining hurdles to our physical, economic, and social development in the Oecs. As the adage goes, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. If we all faithfully do our part, we are sure to win the race to the sun. Let's do it. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jules, for your inspirational opening remarks. Revolution, innovation, opportunities. Thank you very much for giving us some context to the region's needs and its potential to lead on climate change. With that, Honorable Minister, Dr. Gail Rigobert, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Excellencies, colleagues. I wish to bid everyone a sunny good morning. I especially want to express my solidarity and that of the government and people of St. Lucia with our colleagues from St. Vincent and the Grenadines as they brave through this very difficult time. As a co-anchor country of the Caribbean NDCFI from 2017, it is indeed a privilege to deliver these remarks at this auspicious launch of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. We as CARICOM, as Oecs states, are all too familiar with the dire threat that climate change poses to our islands. As particularly vulnerable island states, we have seen and borne the brunt of the disastrous effects of this global phenomenon, the ravaging of our homes and property, the loss of lives, and the impairment of our economies, to name a few. We experience all of this while our greenhouse gas emissions are negligible. However, we recognize that the fight against climate change is a global one which calls for our ambitious leadership and commitment to both adapting and mitigating to the adverse effects of climate change. Furthermore, we also recognize the urgent need for us as member states to rally our efforts in a coordinated approach towards amplified outcomes. As the minister with responsibility for the climate change portfolio in St. Lucia, I am beyond pleased that we and the other member states can collaborate with the Oecs Commission and the very appreciated friends of the Commission on such a timely and crucial initiative as this one which seeks to engage in a holistic manner our governments, the private sector, development partners, impact financiers and households in a united effort to increase the diffusion of solar energy across the region. I am proud to say that St. Lucia, through its NDC commitments, is taking the bold step in leading by example, as have a number of my other fellow member states. In 2015, we submitted our first NDC, setting a GHG emissions reduction target of 16% by 2025 and 23% by 2030 in the areas of energy, electricity generation, and transport. We also submitted our updated NDC, which raises ambition and calls for a 7% reduction in GHG emission by 2030 relative to 2010 through proposed key actions that to harness St. Lucia's natural resources by way of increasing the use of renewable energy and energy efficiency technologies, improving incentives and infrastructure to encourage a greater uptake in low carbon motor vehicles, improving the legislative framework, pursuing more public awareness, and encouraging strategic investment opportunities for the private sector in the transport and energy areas. As we, as member states, move towards meeting our targets and enhancing the implementation of our NDCs, the importance of this Solar Challenge initiative cannot be understated. Indeed, we have always had the sun, but we have not always taken advantage of it. The Solar Challenge is in direct alignment with our individual and the collective commitment as small island developing states to shifting to low carbon economies. The initiative capitalizes on the need to engage stakeholders at all levels, especially the need to leverage the private sector to drive and support this ambitious climate action. This is timely for us in St. Lucia, with the Cabinet of Ministers just having approved a climate change private sector engagement strategy that we plan to roll out shortly. This Solar Challenge initiative will assist our countries in better aligning their actions with their policies. It will pivot us in a better position to build resilience in the face of climate change in a manner that utilizes what we have readily available, the sun, while being participatory and inclusive to all. St. Lucia, and I dare say we, the member states, offer our full support to this initiative and stand ready and dedicated to taking the necessary action in ensuring that it is a success and that the benefits are realized. I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister, for your kind support. I hear urgency, coordination, amplification, alignment, ambition, and thank you also for giving us some very concrete action that St. Lucia is taking to lead by example. Thank you very much. And with that, over to the Oecs Commission and some more detail on what the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge is all about. Colleagues, the floor is yours. You'll hear in more detail about what the challenge is all about in a moment then from the Oecs Commission. In the meantime, There are two partners. Actually, the NDCFI from its very inception has been supported by the NDC partnership, by the UNFCCC, and by BMZ and GIZ. In the case of GIZ, that has involved support for an NDCFI forum, which some of you may have joined, a number of consultancies, the development of an NDCFI virtual engagement platform, which, by the way, do join us there as well. It is linked to the Solar Challenge page that will be launched today, so we hope to be seeing you in both places. And we have with us today two of the partners, namely the NDC Partnership Support Unit and the UNFCCC. And with that, may I open the floor to Mr. Pablo Vieira, who is the Director General of, no, sorry, I got that wrong. See, I had introduced everybody at the beginning, but I realized that some people were joining later. So let me do that again. He's the Global Director of the NDC Partnership Support Unit. Pablo, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Lena. And it's a great pleasure and an honor to be here today. Excellencies, the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. Gail Rigobert, Minister of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development from St. Lucia, Madame Executive Secretary of the UNFCCC, Patricia Espinoza, Madame COP26 Regional Ambassador for Latin America and the Caribbean, Fiona Clowder, Dr. Jules, DG of the Oecs, dear colleagues, dear friends. I can recall vividly our first Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative event in St. Lucia in 2019. This was an excellent event hosted by the Oecs for all its member states to meet with key stakeholders and to assess how the high NDC ambition in the region could be translated into concrete action. The NDCFI was and still is an innovative approach where a platform is given to the private sector and potential financiers to identify opportunities for their engagement in the implementation of the NDCs. As the NDC partnership, we have supported the NDCFI from day one, and we will continue to support your initiative. This is a unique platform from which we aim to learn and to translate these lessons learned in encouraging other regions and other countries around the world to follow your lead. The Solar Challenge is yet another step by the Eastern Caribbean region in designing business and investment vehicles for the countries. This is another demonstration of your leadership and your ambition to act as an accelerator by stimulating the private sector to support your country's climate ambition and take action in the transition to a net zero and resilient economy. We all know that access to finance is a key challenge in the current phase of transitioning to a carbon neutral world. Climate finance will be a cornerstone to the discussions during the upcoming COP in Glasgow. And this initiative and your experiences are very important to share. Your actions are part of the quest to identify how funding can be made available to materialize the key steps to use renewable energy as a reliable key source to tackle climate change and for your social and economic development. As a final note, I want to underline the engagement of the NDC Partnership's members to support OECS and its member countries in the design and implementation of its NDCs. One of the key dimensions being energy transition. All OECS sovereign states are now members of the NDC Partnership. 6 Caribbean nations are currently receiving NDC implementation support from the NDC Partnership, including 3 OECS countries. 7 countries in the Caribbean region are receiving support from the Partnership's Climate Action Enhancement Package for NDC enhancement, including 4 OECS countries. And 8 economic advisors are being deployed in 5 Caribbean countries, 3 from the OECS, from the Economic Advisory Initiative from the Partnership that is supporting green recovery efforts. We are very pleased that through the coordinated and continued engagement of our members and partners, we are providing a comprehensive approach to supporting strong climate action that is driving sustainable development in various OECS countries. A good example of the comprehensive support provided by the partnership through its different offerings is St. Lucia, as Minister Rigobert has mentioned some of the great achievements of the country. Through CAP, our implementing partners have supported the enhancement of the NDC of St. Lucia, which aims at 7% reduction of emissions in 2030 relative to 2010. This is in line with a 1.5 global warming scenario. The NDC partnership supports also has resulted in the development of an NDC implementation plan in St. Lucia with a strong emphasis on the energy sector, with many actions under implementation currently, and which is currently being updated to incorporate the greater ambition level of St. Lucia's 2020 NDC. Finally, looking into economic green recovery, St. Lucia is also working on identifying and preparing a pipeline of bankable green projects in the energy sector based on its updated NDC. Thanks again to the OECS for its leadership, and congratulations on the launch of this incredible initiative that will be a great example around the world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vieira, for your inputs and for your words of support, and for telling us a bit the story of the NDC partnership's role also in the region, which of course is very much appreciated. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge will take flight today. However, the back-end technology of today's event is giving us a little bit of hiccups. So apologies if I diverge from the agenda again, and call on you early to please give us your inputs. Let us, before we move to Mrs. Patricia Espinoza of the United Nations Framework Convention for Climate Change, let us hear from you. May we have our first poll question, please? Can we upload that? That looks promising. Thank you, Shanna. So this is a little bit, we didn't want to give you a list of preset options. So therefore we're working with Mentimeter. So this is how it works. You will need to use another device or indeed open another tab and go to menti.com. You can see that in the top of the screen as well. Then you need to type in the code that you see there, 23169244, and then respond to the question. And if in this case, everything does go well, we should be seeing your responses appear on our shared screens in just a moment. Fingers crossed. I look forward to hearing from you. Of course, the Solar Challenge is something that will also, as any good program, shape over time, respond to what we hear as we engage around the region, and hearing from you on what the biggest incentives are for your investment in solar energy is, of course, an important one there. Resilience, yes, of course. We've heard that from the minister. That is something we can never forget, of course, in the region. Thank you for putting that on there. Energy security, savings. Yes, let us use the abundance of a resource that is there. Again, financial savings, indeed, building on a resource we have. Energy independence. Innovation, and of course, sustainability. Thank you very much. Yes, we lots of great inputs there that we look forward to looking at in detail, to grouping. I'm seeing quite some emphasis on savings, on energy security, again, resilience coming up. Obviously, that is something that is, I think, in the solar context, an opportunity now as well, since we now do have the technology to put up PV systems that can withstand those hurricanes that the region is, of course, exposed to, and increasingly exposed to, as we have also heard from the minister. Collective efforts. Yes, indeed. Thank you for putting that out there. This is, of course, something that is really important to us at the NDC Finance Initiative and at the Solar Challenge. This is a regional effort, a regional collaboration effort. And we're starting to see some very concrete things as well around feed-in tariffs. This is great. Thank you very much. I'll give you another half a minute to add any additional final thoughts. This is a great resource for us to also take away from today to get your inputs. Of course, we'll be coming back to you to talk a lot more about this in detail. as the Solar Challenge takes flight. But for today, this is some great inputs. Really appreciate it. Away from fossil fuels, towards resilience. Great. Thank you very much for all of your inputs. I understand that we're still having trouble linking to Mrs. Patricia Espinoza. So if that is okay, may we move ahead to Your Excellency, Fiona Clowder, UK COP26 Regional Ambassador for Latin America and the Caribbean. A very warm welcome, Your Excellency. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Lena, for your superb moderation of this important event. And it is an honour to be here with distinguished ministers and representatives from across the region. So I'm Fiona Clowder, I'm the Regional Ambassador for Latin America and the Caribbean for COP26. And I think already we've heard from speakers about the real opportunity here in the Caribbean, because we're all aware that those challenges ahead of climate change are real, they're happening now, and those risks are going to increase. So initiatives such as the Solar Challenge are so important in bringing together innovation and new partnerships that help us mitigate against some of those risks of climate change, whilst opening up new opportunities for growth and jobs and different uses of energy. So if we think about where we are on COP26, the big UN climate change conference that will take place in Glasgow, Scotland, from the 1st to the 12th of November this year, that's less than 6 months away. And so we have to move with urgency, we have to move with ambition, we have to move with action. And I think that's what's so exciting about this event today, because it is showing that action can happen and happen in very creative and positive ways. And the benefits of tackling climate change are numerous. They're in the interests of all of us, about cleaner air, healthier communities, sustainable growth, energy security, and a safer and more stable climate. So we often hear of the very important message of 1.5 to stay alive, the agreement that was made in Paris that we must keep global temperature rise below 1.5 degrees to avoid further catastrophic consequences. Alok Sharma, the COP26 President Designate, has highlighted how we need to keep 1.5 alive. In other words, keep that target in reach. And I also like to think of it as 1.5 to thrive. Keeping within that limit both ensures stable lives ahead for everybody, but also, as shown by today's initiative on the Solar Challenge, it can also create new jobs, new growth, and thrive in an economic sense. So through our COP26 presidency, we are trying to raise ambition all across the world to encourage countries to move to net zero and to ensure that they put forward ambitious NDCs, nationally determined contributions, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and meet those targets by 2030. A second objective is around adaptation and resilience and connections with nature, as is so epitomized, is so important in the Caribbean. And also finance, both ensuring the donor countries meet their commitment to $100 billion of climate finance, but also to encourage more finance to be released through public and private sector. And crucially, what I hear from the Caribbean and others is the need to improve access to that finance to ensure that money swiftly reaches those who need it most, and that also the technical capacity is in place for projects. So we're trying to further that. And most of all, this is about collaboration and international partnership. And so a big campaign within COP26 has been around clean growth, presenting the most significant economic growth opportunity of this century. Falling cost of renewables and low carbon makes economic sense and also attracts new investment. And the UK is helping build links between British businesses and the region. We co-sponsored the Caribbean Renewable Energy Forum, and also we're promoting projects through the Green Climate Fund and through the World Bank and the Inter-American Development Bank and others. But we recognise for small island developing states, such as those in the Caribbean, the transition is not easy. But the challenges of market access, there's challenges of capacity building, and no one can fix that alone. And that's why these sorts of events are so important to stimulate conversation, exchange ideas and best practice, and bring partners together to find practical solutions. So the UK has spent nearly £20 million in recent years supporting the increased use of renewable energy, including geothermal and energy efficiency measures in the Eastern Caribbean, as well as including energy efficient upgrades, solar panel installation in public buildings and energy efficient lighting. And the UK, I'm pleased to confirm, is also providing funding in support of the Oecs Solar Challenge initiative. So thank you so much for the opportunity to participate in this exciting event. I look forward to hearing from the other speakers, and also I look forward to the discussions and chat, because that's really, even though we're all in our virtual world, how we can move forward on this very important agenda. And I look forward to working with you on the road to COP26. Thank you so much. Back to you, Lena.
Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador. Thank you for again emphasizing the urgency, the ambition, the action, for also pledging your support for the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, which of course means a lot. And thank you also for going back, I think, to a goal that is very important for the region, 1.5 to stay alive. And I also like your turn on this, 1.5 to thrive. And with that, I think you've given us a very nice lead to go back to the Oecs Commission and try again. Sometimes in this race to the sun, we need to improvise. Let's hope that this time the technologies are our friends and we can hear more details on the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge from the Oecs Commission.
What is the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge? The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge is a call to action to governments, the private sector, development partners, financial institutions, electric utility companies, and homeowners to work together to enhance energy security and build climate resilience across the Oecs region by better harnessing the solar energy that occurs in abundance in our islands. Why solar, you ask? Solar is becoming widely accepted as a price-competitive alternative energy source. Installations can range in scale from an individual streetlight to grid scale, making solar power accessible to many. What's more, solar can come in the form of hurricane-proof installations that promote both climate mitigation and resilience. When you install solar panels, they provide clear and visible evidence of your contribution to clean energy and climate action. And very importantly, there is a growing pool of trained and experienced installers across the region, meaning that solar can create sustainable employment. How does the Solar Challenge work? Governments encourage investment in PV installations through existing and new incentives, such as import concessions, reduced value-added tax, and corporate and personal income tax rebates. These concessions can either be indefinite or for a fixed period. Where feasible, governments can also amend policies and legislation. Financial institutions and insurance companies offer attractive credit facilities or insurance premiums to facilitate PV uptake. Companies and households take advantage of the incentives offered by the government and private sector institutions to invest in solar power for homes and business. Finally, development and corporate partners can grant contributions towards solar installations on emergency shelters, schools, and other critical public buildings, as well as for small businesses in various member states. These contributions can be made bilaterally between partners and governments or through a special grant facility. All new solar installations in every island from 1st January 2021, irrespective of the funding source, are then registered under the Solar Challenge and contribute towards meeting the target. Speaking of targets, just how much solar are we talking about? We are looking to increase the amount of solar power in the Oecs from small and medium-sized installations by 6.5 megawatts by 2025, with an interim target of 2 megawatts by the end of 2023. This will complement the grid scale contributions made by electric utilities. What are the benefits of the challenge? The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge promotes energy and climate resilience and demonstrates our region's commitment to climate action and energy resilience. It allows as many stakeholders as possible in all sectors to participate. It encourages private sector engagement, encourages corporate social responsibility, and supports the triple bottom line approach. It promotes green investment and green jobs and supports clean growth and a green recovery from the disastrous effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is youth and gender considerate, as many young persons, both male and female, are entering the renewable energy sector. And it encourages partnerships and joint approaches nationally, regionally, and globally. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge is you, it is me, it is all of us, and most of all, it is ours. Take up the challenge. Join the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge as we race to the sun. For more information, go to oecs.org/solar-challenge.
Thank you very much, Shanna. Thanks to the Oecs Commission for giving us all that detail on what this is all about. It's yours, it's ours. It's a race that we want to take away as of today. But of course, it will not come without challenges, and we want to make sure that we're prepared for those. And we want to hear from you about what are some of the key barriers and challenges to solar installation that you are experiencing, that you see. So with that, may I invite our second poll question, please? Shanna, colleagues, can we get the poll question on?
1 second, Lena, I'm getting there.
Okay, thank you. To remind you, the question is, what are some of the barriers, the challenges that you see to solar installation? And the approach will again be the same. Use another tab, use another device to go to mentimeter.com. The number, I think, is a different one and will be popping up on the screen right now, 2316-9244. Please give us your responses, and they should be popping up here any minute. Cost. Yes, something that has not got, that has, I think, gotten a lot easier over, or a lot better over time, maybe right now with a bit of an extra challenge due to the pandemic that has, I think, increased some of the costs again. At the same time, I think we saw lots of opportunities for cost savings from solar as well. So that's one to look at. There we go. There we go. Local expertise. Yes, a very important one. Training of technicians locally, which I think is going on both at the Oecs as well as a number of partners. I think we might be hearing about that in one of the upcoming presentations as well. Very important. Public awareness, indeed. Thanks for putting that on there. That's one of our big goals, of course, as at the Solar Challenge as well, to get that message out there. Again, some of the ecosystem things like feed-in tariffs, access to capital, regulations, regulators, lots of reasons to get together across sectors and work on this together. Scale, indeed, one of the big reasons for going regional, of course. Thanks for adding that. Access to finance, policy environment, specific contexts in the region, awareness, awareness, awareness. Yes, indeed. Thanks for flagging that. Approval processes. And of course, political will. Legislation. Thank you very much. This is really great. It's great to hear from you from around the region, from around the world, indeed, to help us shape this up. We really appreciate that very much. Thanks again for all of your inputs. And with that, I see there's still a few last ones. One, finish typing the word that you're at right now. And then let us move on to the statement of Mrs. Patricia Espinoza, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
Dear friends, hello and congratulations on the launch of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. I am very happy to join your race to the sun. The Caribbean region is one of the most beautiful and unique places on Earth, filled with rich history, incredible landscapes, and friendly, industrious, and knowledgeable people. We must work hard to protect the region from climate change. As you know, 2021 is a pivotal year in the climate change process, the most important since the adoption of the Paris Agreement. I know some countries have faced challenges in reviewing and submitting new or updated national climate action plans, or NDCs. They were due in 2020. And while I understand that COVID-19 has confronted the world with unprecedented challenges, the window of opportunity to address climate change is closing, and we must do everything we can to get those plans in now. We cannot dismiss, delay, or divert climate action. We must act now. That is why I am happy to participate in this launch. The race to the sun brings together governments, the private sector, and citizens in a unified effort. It makes use of a great resource the Eastern Caribbean has, the sun. It has a tangible and time-specific goal to increase the use of solar energy by the end of 2023. It aims to bring energy security and affordability to the region. It will help build capacity. And it also shows how the NDC Finance Initiative can help island nations reach their climate change goals. The Solar Challenge is yet another reminder to the people of the world that Eastern Caribbean countries are doing everything they can to address climate change. The impacts there, of course, are not some distant threat. They're happening now. You did not ask to be on the front lines of this global emergency, but you are leading by example, showing we must all countries and all people, take direct action right now. In many ways, this race towards the sun is also a race against time, a race to harness cleaner, more sustainable energy sources that will reduce greenhouse gas emissions and ultimately limit global temperature rise. The sun, in this way, also acts as a beacon, a guide towards a planet that is ultimately more resilient, but more prosperous for all people as well. You are truly leaders in our collective efforts to address climate change, and we welcome, recognize, and appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is great to hear a recognition of the Caribbean's leadership in the race to address climate change, in the race to the sun, in our particular case, from the international level, from the global level, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. With that, we get to today's keynote address. The Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada. The floor is yours.
Honorable Dr. Gail Rigobot, Minister of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations, and Sustainable Development of St. Lucia. Director General of the Oecs, Dr. Didacus Jules. Representatives of various organizations that have committed to being partners in the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Government and private sector representatives, other distinguished guests, sisters and brothers all, good morning. It is indeed an honor to speak today on this momentous occasion, which marks the start of a significant journey for the Oecs member states. I must commend the Oecs Commission for the foresight in conceiving the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, an initiative which seeks to increase the awareness and deployment of renewable energy technologies. This initiative takes on added significance because of the Caribbean's vulnerability to natural disasters and climate change. We must, as a matter of priority, escalate the process of building resilience into our developmental strategies. The uniqueness of this particular area of development, marked significantly by the COVID-19 pandemic, further underscores the urgent need for resilience. The Caribbean people are already well endowed with a spirit of resilience, given our innate ability to survive and thrive, even in adversity. We now need to entrench that resilience into developmental processes to hopefully reduce the impact of future external shocks. When faced with challenges like we are now with the ongoing pandemic, we need to resort to innovation and ingenuity to leapfrog through the hurdles and continue to forge ahead with development. Even before the pandemic added a layer of complexity to our developmental challenges, the unprecedented warming of the global climate pose a direct threat to our region. Addressing this existential threat requires reduced dependence on fossil fuels and the elimination of climate forces. The power generation sector is heavily reliant on fossil fuels. Therefore, any serious attempt at reducing carbon emissions must include initiatives in that sector. We have already created several international frameworks that seeks to address the level of carbon emissions. So we must now drive the implementation process. Many nations, including Grenada, have been taking bold and ambitious steps towards announcing mitigation, adaptation, and finance targets. In December 2020, Grenada became the first Oecs country to submit its second nationally determined contribution, or NDC, as required under the historic Paris Climate Agreement. Grenada also has committed to an ambitious 40% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, based on the 2010 emission levels. Furthermore, we have committed to the ambitious target of 30% electricity generation by renewable energy sources by 2030. Achieving this target means that Grenada needs at least 10 megawatts of solar power to come online between now and 2030. It will be remiss of me not to mention the bold decision taken by the Grenada government to reform the electricity sector with the repurchase of the utility company. This move, though very costly, will enable now investment in renewable energy technology as a key element for economic growth and development. It is clear to us that government must play a decisive role in determining the energy mix and development profile of the country. And as a critical partner, the utility company must be prepared to periodically adjust its business model to be consistent with the trajectory of 100% power generation from renewable energy sources by 2050. The science is rapidly evolving, and solar innovation and technology are quickly advancing with significant reductions in costs and similarly substantial increases in capacity and applications. Our interconnected economies and supply chains are ripe with opportunities for nature-based solutions like solar applications that are consistent with low carbon development. The Eastern Caribbean's solar challenge is therefore the greatest opportunity for us in the region to contribute to addressing the climate change problem, to ensure that global average temperatures remain below 1.5 degrees Celsius. In my view, the initiative is quite timely. It is deliberately simple in design, but far-reaching in its potential to impact the social and economic fabric of our society. This homegrown, region-driven initiative seeks the participation of everyone: governments, the private sector, development partners, and households across the entire Oecs. The solar challenge is premised on the reality that the energy future of the Eastern Caribbean must be constructed on a solid bedrock of indigenous renewable energy that not subject to the vagaries of global energy markets. It recognizes that solar electricity, which was once considered an expensive novelty, is now accepted as a mature and cost-competitive technology. The recovery effort that will become necessary in a post-COVID-19 environment presents an opportunity for the world to take a greener approach to development. As such, renewables must be the energy source to power this recovery and to lay the foundation for the resilient development of the sub-region. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, therefore, holds the potential to combine all regional efforts to this end and to unite our countries in the race to the sun. A race in which we can all emerge victorious. The Solar Challenge also provides a platform for the creation of green jobs that will prove particularly attractive to the young men and women of our region. There is a general perception that climate and energy security are primarily the domain of government. But governments cannot do it alone. We need the support and participation of our external partners and the full engagement of the business community, the financial sector, civil society, and private citizens, electric utility companies across the region, which have long shouldered the responsibility for powering our societies and our economies, must fully embrace the exciting new energy future that awaits us. We all have a part to play in greening our respective economies. Sisters and brothers, today's launch represents a catalyst for future opportunities for expansion to include other renewable energy technologies, energy efficiency, electric vehicles, and so much more. I urge us all to share, embrace, and work collectively towards this vision. I therefore commend the governments of the region for their efforts thus far to facilitate the diffusion of renewable energy. It is incumbent on us all to support the Solar Challenge by instituting the appropriate policy, legislative and fiscal measures, and continue our efforts to green the public sector with solar power. I must also commend our developmental partners who have committed to supporting the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. I also take this opportunity to invite those planning to do so to come fully on board. I assure you that nowhere else will you find a renewable energy initiative that is so inclusive and unites so many countries. In global terms, the support that we seek is minuscule, like our emissions, but the results thereof will reverberate well beyond this region. Sisters and brothers, as we embark on this challenge today to realize a greener region powered by the sun, I invite one and all to take up this challenge. I commit to fully playing my part in realizing the success of this initiative. In closing, therefore, I suggest that the Oecs Commission encourages and enables our talented youth to get more involved in the fields of science, technology, and innovation as they prepare to make their mark as future leaders. The COVID-19 has reinforced the importance of the digital economy and electronic communications. What once seemed impossible is now the reality. We must therefore prepare the wicket for innovation, get towards enhancing the participation of our youth and budding entrepreneurs in the solar opportunity and the regional economic recovery plan. My final charge to the Oecs Commission is to continue to keep the fingers on the pulse of regional development, and we will surely reach the sun. I thank you all.
Right Honourable Prime Minister, thank you very much for your supportive, for your inspirational remarks, and for your leadership, and for providing a better segue to our next speaker than I could ever have. From its inception, the NDCFI has included a focus on engaging the private sector and has been supported by its partners in doing so, including by the German the German International Cooperation Agency, GIZ, who supported the development of a private sector engagement strategy for the NDCFI. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge will benefit from that engagement, and it will take cross-sector partnership to the next level. As the Honorable Prime Minister said, drive the implementation process is now the name of the game. And with that, over to you, Rob Wallace. We are very happy to have an inspirational private sector voice at the virtual table
la voix du secteur
today.
privé avec nous.
Rob, the floor is yours.
It wasn't me.
Rob, the floor is yours.
No
Thank
problem.
you very much.
Hey,
Apologies.
No problem at all. This is super exciting. Like, we've been waiting for this moment for a long time. You know, the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, the Oecs, and all the great things you and all the members have done and accomplished. Lean, a great job today on hosting this event, even through the difficulties. So you've done an excellent job. I'm super excited about this today. We started our company to empower people. So let me back up a little bit. So I've been in solar now almost 15 years. I don't look like it because my beard's not all gray, but I've been in solar a long time. I've built over 200 megawatts of projects, graduated electrical engineering from Virginia Tech, master's at Hopkins. And I worked in the solar industry for 5 years until 2015, when we had the riots in Baltimore, Maryland. So those of you who are familiar with the Freddie Gray riots, there was a young man who was under police custody, was then killed as he was transported to the to headquarters, and it caused a huge riot in our city, and this is Baltimore, Maryland. And so what you saw, though, was you saw youth who had lost hope. We didn't necessarily see bad people. There were some bad actors in the group, I will admit, that's true. But you saw a loss of hope in the youth, right? You saw this anger of how do I get out of this current condition? And so me, Ray Lewis, my partner, and Cherie Brooks started Power 52 Foundation to train veterans, returning citizens, and at-risk youth how to build, construct, and maintain solar farms. So as part of this training, they got their NABCEP certification, which is essential for solar development and construction. They got their OSHA 10, which covers the safety in terms of the construction. They got their NCCER certification. So we gave them meaningful certifications that would allow them to take this skill and grow. We call it a potable skill. As long as you keep watering it, it grows and grows and grows. So fast forward to 2017, after the hurricanes came through the Caribbean area, by that time, we had graduated over 400 people, 85% in full-time work, regardless of their background, regardless of what math level they started with, regardless of their English. We got them from where they were to where they need to be. And we created this model of the way you power a nation is by empowering the people first. You got to start with the people, and if you want to build a country. And so we took this model then to British Virgin Islands. So we were invited there after the storm in 2017 to help with the recovery process, to help rebuild some of the infrastructure, look at how they can rebuild their integration with BBIC as part of this Recovery Act. And what we found and what we presented was our same model that we did in Maryland, which is you power a nation by empowering the people. So we developed the Power 52 Caribbean Energy Institute in partnership with HLSCC, the local community college, to do training on the ground for individuals so that when these projects that we're developing for British Virgin Islands are built, it's constructed by the graduates of the program. It's constructed by the folks, the young men and women who come from those same communities, that some of which have been outcast, some of which have come back from prison, some of which just want to change in career. So the projects are not built from outside labor or resources. The projects are built from internal resources in the BBI. So we started the Power 52 Caribbean Energy Institute. We just ran our first class this past January. And then May 3rd this year, we graduated 39 solar professionals with NABCEP certifications, with their NCCR certifications, with all these potable skills that they could take and then use to rebuild solar within the region. Excuse me one second, my light is flashing. Let me turn that down. Is that better? There we go. I don't want you to have a headache. And so what you saw though, was you saw 30% from the prison system. These are guys and girls who came right out of the prisons into our program who graduated. You saw guys and girls who just finished high school, who don't know what they want to do with their career, who have graduated. And you've also seen folks who want to retool graduate. So then what happened is now they're preparing to build the project. So we were awarded the Anegada Solar Plus Storage Battery Storage Project for the island of Anegada. So it's 1.2 megawatts of solar, 4 megawatt hours of storage. The island will be totally off-grid, 97.5% of the time it will run from that solar storage and the solar power. But guess who that's built by? It's built by the people who graduated from the class and the residents of British Virgin Islands. So now the resources and the tools and the skills stay in that country. And so my point is, this is our model that we're pushing throughout the Caribbean. You have to empower the people before you can power the nation. This industry is huge. There's 2,000 megawatts of capacity in the Caribbean. So just across the two projects we're doing in BVI, we're already about 7.5 to 10 megawatts of projects. You see the opportunity. It's an opportunity for hundreds of thousands of jobs for the people, young men and women, or old men and women who live in the Caribbean who can retool to participate in this sector. If you do that, the money will come, the projects will come. And then now those resources stay within your country and then within your resource and within your knowledge base. And this is why this Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge is so important, because we have to open up to the community to show them that not only can solar benefit them from a savings perspective, from a carbon reduction perspective, or a savings per kilowatt hour, but also from a job creation perspective, from a workforce development perspective. And so when you empower these people, they're not hanging out in the corners anymore. They're not sitting around figuring out who they have to rob to be able to cover their bills. And especially in this post-COVID environment, skills like this are essential for our young men and women so that they can take this and make it grow. Whether they do it in the Caribbean or whether they do it anywhere else in the world, renewable energy and solar development will not go away. And so that's the model for Power 52. This is why we established the Caribbean Energy Institute. We even went so far as to build our own proprietary learning management system so that anyone, anywhere, any facility, host facility can access our database, use our training material, use our labs, use our NABCEP certification, our NCCR certification, and teach your own folks. It's not about us coming down there and doing the work. It's about how do we empower you so that you can teach the folks in your community so they become not individuals hanging out and chilling, but those who are now productive in the community. There's this one guy, and this is my last story, I won't talk long. His name is Raheem from my last class. And Raheem, well, I probably should use his other name, but I'm gonna use his real name anyway, it's Raheem. And so Raheem is 18 years old. When he came into class the first time, sitting in the back of the class, everyone in the community said, oh, he's so-and-so's son who's locked in jail, but he's so respected, people fear his father, so just let him come through the class. Let him just sit in the back. So he'd come in class with his glasses on, headphones on, the whole dreads, all that stuff. Sit in the back, not participate, right? So before every class, we teach what's called a power principle, which is Bible-based principles on life. And if you see behind me, those are some of the principles on the wall. So I lead that and I engage each and every person in the class so that they then can change their mindset and what they believe. See, if you don't change a man or woman's heart, regardless of the tool that you teach them around solar or carpentry or anything else, they will not take that and grow. But when you change their heart and they change how they think, now you have soil that when you put these seeds in and you water it, they can take it and grow. And so this young man, the first 3 weeks, or maybe 4 weeks, didn't say a word, always on his phone, always walking out of class. And every day I call on him. I said, Ryan, what do you think about this? Sometimes he answers, sometimes he wouldn't. Let me tell you something. By the 7th week of this 11-week class, Raheem is participating in the power principles. He's participating in the lab work, right? he's passing the test. Now, we spend a lot of time on life skills, a lot of time on career coaching, a lot of time on counseling, because the young men and women that we serve have been through so much trauma in some cases that you got to kind of help work them through that process in order for the soul to stick. My point is, Raheem gave the graduation keynote speech at graduation. The person that they said would not graduate, won't participate, don't even worry about calling on him, just let him finish the class, was the one who gave the graduation keynote speech. And I'll tell you, I was on, if you watch the video, I'm on the stage crying, right? Because I've seen this young man go from where he was fighting, arguing, mean and hurt, to now giving the keynote speech to his classmates, and his classmates respecting him and supporting him. So these are the types of stories that can happen across the Caribbean. This is why we do this. This is why we spend so much time on empowering the people. And so programs like this are essential for us to get to those people that we're trying to serve. This is why we're here, to build the solar and to empower the people. And if you do those two together, I believe that this program will have huge success across the Caribbean. So thank you for this time. I really appreciate it. As you can tell, I'm super excited about the stuff we do, and I'm super excited about the impact that this could have on not only the Caribbean, but on the world. So God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rob, for sharing that excitement with us today, for sharing some of the very concrete stories from your vast experience, and for calling on us to make sure we don't forget that a lot of this is about empowering the people. Once again, thank you so much to all of our speakers. I think so many of you have picked up on so many of the points that we've also heard from the polls. So we're really grateful for this rich collection of inputs, of somewhat of a starting of a discussion despite the limited means of the virtual world. Thank you so much to all of you. With that, may I hand back to Dr. Didicus Jules for the formal launch of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Dr. Jules.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Are you hearing me?
We are hearing you loud and clear.
Great,
thank
thanks.
you.
The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, as we have heard, provides a platform for private and public sectors, development partners, NGOs, local, regional, and international interests to work together towards shared objectives that are mutually beneficial. It will provide a testing ground for government energy policies and associated regulatory frameworks, and for prevailing and emerging business models to assess whether they are conducive to our energy transition. Over the past months in the design and development of this initiative, we have had the chance to meet and to dialogue with several stakeholders. We've also reached out to our utilities, private sector and financiers, and engage with our regional and international development partners and bilateral friends. I can report that the response has been both encouraging and inspiring. I therefore wish to thank all of you who've taken the time to discuss with us, who have shared valuable feedback, and who have indicated a willingness to partner with us on this journey. For some, the decision was instant, and their role in the initiative was clear. Other potential partners and collaborators are still working out the exact niche in this ecosystem of actors. Today, we will hear from some of these partners and contributors. But to get off the mark, I would like to, on behalf of the Oecs Commission, pledge our continuing sweat and blood, our capacity, our reputation, our convening capacity, to leading and driving this critical initiative. You heard Prime Minister Michel as a champion of this speak out. Additionally, we commit an initial core financial amount of $20,000 US towards building the ecosystem needed through support for public awareness and visibility, technical assistance and capacity building, and strengthening the enabling environment across our member states. This amount is allocated to demonstrate the Oecs Commission's skin in the game, and as a seed to leverage further financial and technical support. So now the race is on. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jules. The amazing convening power of the Oecs Commission will sure be a key factor in making this success. And thank you also very much for kickstarting this with coming up with a pledge to fund. I think one of the points that also came up in the polls as a very important one, awareness. Big thank you also to the UK for already pledging support for the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. I have the honor to also convey that the German government has committed to continue supporting the Ndcfi with a budget of approximately 120,000 euros over the next 2 years, and that a substantial part of that will also go to funding for support services for the Solar Challenge. As Dr. Jules mentions, we also have a number of partners in the room who have already figured out their contribution, their push in this race to the sun, and we'll now have some very brief remarks from a number of them. We'll be hearing from the Global Green Growth Institute, we'll be hearing from the Caribbean Development Bank, we'll be hearing from Get Invest and the Finance Catalyst, and from Solar Heads of State. May I open the floor to Dr. Frank Risberman, Director General of the Global Green Growth Institute, the GGGI. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Dr. Jules, Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends, it's my pleasure to join you in this exciting and inspiring event and as a partner in this race to the sun. GGGI is an intergovernmental organization supporting an accelerated green transition for its 39 members through green policies and green investment projects. And OECS is one of our 39 members, and therefore all OECS member states we consider members of GGGI as well. We are an implementation partner of the NDCfi partnership that we had here earlier. And in 2020, we worked with 29 countries to redevelop their NDCs, including the NDCs of several OECS members. We also work as a Green Climate Fund delivery partner for 34 countries around the world, including some in the Eastern Caribbean. So today, GGGI is excited to be a partner in the Solar Challenge. We will be contributing over $200,000 in technical assistance of our own core resources to a project that will address one of the key barriers to a more widespread adoption of solar power in the region, the regulatory environment. This is what creates a structure that will incentivize private companies and governments and utilities and investors to invest in and install solar by making it easy, low risk, and financially attractive to do so. They're interested in solar, the private sector, but often government rules prevent them from taking action. For instance, by limiting system size or not having effective net metering policies in place. So we are pleased to be supporting St. Lucia's regulator, the NURC, to offer capacity building and technical support for their staff, and also to be working with the OECS Commission to develop regional recommendations for countries under the OECS Sustainable Energy Framework. We plan to grow this into a wider initiative. And in addition to working on the regulatory sides, we hope to work with OECS and the other Solar Challenge partners to structure Solar Challenge projects and mobilize investment. We have considerable experience with that for small island development states, particularly in the Pacific, where we have already developed more than 20 megawatts and raised over $60 million, mostly from the private sector, for utility scale solar projects, for rooftop solar off-grid hotels, for hurricane-proof solar water pumps, for village water supplies and outer islands, for agro-solar projects, solar-powered irrigation. It can be done. So in short, like Rob Wallace just now, I'm optimistic that solar can take off in the Eastern Caribbean, that private sector funding is available if governments can provide the right enabling environment. And we look forward to working with the OECS and its member states to make that happen. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Risberman, for your commitment, for your support. We will sure benefit from the wealth of your experience and expertise. With that, over to you, Mr. Al O'Reilly Lewis, Division Chief, Economic Infrastructure Division at the Caribbean Development Bank.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to start by acknowledging and thanking the Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, for his powerful and stirring address to this launch this morning. Dr. Dedicus Jules, Director General of the OECS states, of the Organization of OECS of Eastern Caribbean States, Dr. Gail Rigobert, Minister of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development of St. Lucia, Her Excellency Fiona Clowder, UK COP26 Regional Ambassador for Latin America and the Caribbean. Partners, invited guests, management and staff of the OECS Commission, all attendees. I bring greetings on behalf of the President and Executive Management of the Caribbean Development Bank. CDB is pleased to partner with the OECS Commission in the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, Race to the Sun, which is aimed at increasing the deployment of renewable energy technologies in support of corporate, household, national, and regional goals to increase energy and climate resilience. In keeping with its energy sector policy and strategy and climate resilience strategy, CDB is committed to promoting sustainable energy options to address national energy security issues and climate change objectives. Solar remains an abundant and widely available renewable energy resource for all of our borrowing member countries, including the countries of the Eastern Caribbean. We are of the view that the pace at which countries are transitioning to this resource is not optimal. Therefore, any initiative which can serve to catalyze this transition is welcomed. And we consider the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge Race to the Sun to be one such initiative, which is also fully aligned with the bank's energy and climate resilience focus. It is our view that this initiative can serve as a model for the rest of the region to encourage greater ambitions and expedition in the energy transition. For the past several years, CDB has been working closely with countries of the OECS and the Commission on various sustainable energy initiatives. In 2011, CDB sponsored the Sustainable Energy Technical Assistance Project, which established a regional energy efficiency strategy. In 2015, the Sustainable Energy for the Eastern Caribbean SEEK program was established with the OECS as an important member on the steering committee. SEEK aims to reduce the dependency on imported fossil fuels through the promotion of energy efficiency and renewable energy in participating countries in the Eastern Caribbean. We recognize our partners under the SEEK, the European Union, and the European Kingdom Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. We consider the recently held SEEK-sponsored solar voltaic installers training and certification program as an important contribution to the realization of the objectives and targets under the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Under this program, over 200 persons from the Eastern Caribbean were trained, and over 100 persons acquired international certification as solar voltaic installers and qualified solar voltaic electrical inspectors. It is our hope that this initiative will provide opportunities for meaningful engagement of recent graduates of that program.
Excellent.
Through the technical assistance resources under the SEEK program, as well as other available resources, CDB will work with interested stakeholders where feasible to provide support to facilitate the objectives of the Solar Challenge Initiative in areas of capacity building, strengthening of regulatory frameworks, as well as enhancements of resilience dimensions of the program.
Thank you
CDB wishes to commend
so much. I am really sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up as we're. Thank you.
I am wrapping up. CDB wishes to commend the OECS Commission and the Ndcfi on this initiative, on this innovative approach to advancing the region's energy and climate change agendas in spite of challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic. We consider this approach to be in keeping with the sentiments expressed by the bank's new president, Dr. Jean Leon, when he challenged the bank and the region to reimagine for sustainability and reposition for effectiveness. We therefore extend our best wishes for a successful solar challenge, Race to the Sun, for the benefit of the Oecs region and ultimately all of our barren member countries. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much for expressing your kind supports for the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge from the Caribbean Development Bank, and apologies for racing you through your statement today. Your support is very much appreciated. With that, over to you, Lisa Poisson-Quinton of the Get Invest and the Finance Catalyst. Lisa, could you unmute yourself, please? Yes.
Now we go.
We can hear you.
Thank you very
yours.
much. Thank you. Thank you very much for the great event. And as a long-standing partner of the Oecs and Ndcfi program, we welcome very much the launch of the Ndcfi Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Distinguished speakers and guests, let me briefly introduce you to the Get Invest in a few words. Get Invest is a European program to mobilize investments in decentralized renewable energy, and it's implemented by GIZ. The program is supported by the European Union, Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, and Austria. Among a host of other activities, one of our core services is the Get Invest Finance Catalyst. The Get Invest Finance Catalyst links renewable energy projects and companies with finance, targeting small and medium-scale renewable energy opportunities currently in Sub-Saharan Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific region. The Get Invest Finance Catalyst team leader, actually, Paul van Aalst, is with us today as well, so please feel free to reach out to him directly in the chat. Through our work in the region, not least as a partner of CCRI and their project preparation facility, we are currently supporting a diversity of projects in the region. With regards to the Eastern Caribbean, we have so far 4 active clients with an expected capacity of 18.2 megawatts in total. So we're looking forward to contributing to the Solar Challenge and continuing our partnership with Oecs and the Ndcfi. So for more information, please contact us via our website or our email. And that's it from Get Invest. Thank you very much for your attention, and back to you, Lina.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you also for some concrete megawatt targets. Really appreciate that. With that, over to you, Mr. Francesco Ranieri, a Regional Business Development Manager at Energy and board member at Solar Heads of States.
Good morning. Thank you, everybody. It is a pleasure having the chance to speak today and be part of this initiative. I'm Francesco Ranieri. I'm the board of Solar Head of State, an NGO that works with governments from small islands developing states for the implementation of solar PV system on symbolic public buildings, such as the Office of the Prime Minister or any other key institutional buildings. Our mission is to help the head of the state to showcase the leadership in favor of solar powers, to lead by example towards the transition to clean energy, and in doing so, creating public awareness and social impact. So we're very much aligned with the Solar Challenge initiative. St. Lucia and Solar Head of State have collaborated in the past for installation of solar panels on the government house. And we're very proud to see how Oecs Commission is bringing this vision forward and with much more ambitious targets. Since the last couple of years, the Oecs Commission and Solar Head of State have laid the groundwork for a successful partnership. We are very excited to support the Solar Challenge with a specific focus on the public sectors. In fact, we plan to implement a regional strategy to install 12 solar power and battery storage systems on key symbolic governmental buildings in all the Oecs member states and the Oecs headquarters itself in St. Lucia. The key expected outcome of this initiative is to foster climate resiliency, allowing this to maintain.
Sorry, another technical challenge. I'm afraid we're hearing the interpreter again.
Yeah,
Thank
they
you.
have changed it artificially.
Please continue.
Yes,
Mr.
sure.
Ranieri.
Absolutely. So we're saying to really maintain critical function when also the grid is down due to extreme climate condition. So we also hope to encourage local utilities to integrate in more and more solar in their energy mix and reduce dependency for fossil fuels imports. We finally hope to spread awareness on solar energy within the local communities with the public education and community engagement activities. I think it's worth mentioning the Solar Head of State team is currently working on a similar project in the Pacific Islands region, funded by the United Nations Development Program. And we really look forward to partner with the OECS Commission and other stakeholders to support achieving the solar challenge in the region. So thank you very much and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. We look forward to working with you and building on the shoulders of giants when it comes to establishing solar PV on public buildings. Thank you very much for that. With that, and I am aware that we are ahead of the time that we have, so I hope we can still squeeze two things in which are really important to close this off. The government of St. Lucia and the OECS Commission have been instrumental in driving the NDC Finance Initiative and in the concept of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. The government of St. Lucia has a small surprise for us today in a public service announcement that will be aired on St. Lucia's Government Information Service and hopefully others around the region as well. And finally, I will then be handing over to the man who has been instrumental in bringing you the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, Crispin Tuverne, Program Director, Climate and Disaster Resilience at the OECS Commission. Over to you, colleagues.
Look up at that bright, hot sun. Have you installed solar panels on your home or your business premises since 1st January 2021? Are you looking to install new or additional panels? Come, join the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge and be part of the drive to spread renewable energy across the Eastern Caribbean. Visit oecs.org/solar-challenge to learn more or to register. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, Race to the Sun, an invitation from the Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative.
Awesome, that is great. I love the energy and I look forward to hearing that across the region in the very near future. With that, Crispin, over to you for the closing today.
Thanks, Lena. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Minister, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good day. Mine is a pleasant but substantial task of thanking everyone who has made this event possible. Due to time restrictions, I kind of had to tear up my red carpet speech, but I want to thank the distinguished speakers who, recognizing the value of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, took the time to address this gathering. May their words resonate in our thoughts and inspire our efforts. Many development partners gave us a listening ear during the process and posed some tough questions that help us to build a more robust product. Some have already pledged their support while others are still looking to see how they can join us. So in the coming days, we expect to be able to announce more partnerships. Of course, the UNFCCC and the NDC partnership are founding partners of the Ndcfi, while GIZ was the first partner to provide technical support to the Ndcfi. So thank you very much. Since the launch of the Ndcfi in September 2017, we have received invaluable endorsement and guidance from ministers, permanent secretaries, climate and energy focal points, and Ndcfi working group members from our respective member states. Again, thank you. Over the last couple of years, the Ndcfi has increasingly engaged with the private sector and civil society, and we are encouraged to see that they are well represented today. We're also happy that power companies, financial institutions, statutory bodies, and members of the public are attending this event. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. In designing the challenge, though, there were plenty of moving parts that had to be properly assembled in order to ensure that all wheels rolled in the same direction. Time will now not allow me to thank everyone, but I have to thank the Directorate of the OECS Commission and the Minister of Sustainable Development in St. Lucia for immediately buying into the solar challenge when it was pitched to them the first time. Also, our colleagues within the Department of Sustainable Development, St. Lucia. The Ministry of Education who chipped in, that's for St. Lucia, who chipped in with the production of the PSAs. Our colleagues in Development Cooperation, the Office of the Director General at the Oecs, etc., who came in wherever necessary. And we want to again especially thank GIZ, Annette Fleischer and our colleagues who provided encouragement and support from the start. We also have to recognize the team within the Department of Environment and within the Oecs, particularly within the Climate and Disaster Resilient Unit. And also we want to thank our colleagues in the Sustainable Energy Unit at the Oecs, because it's a joint effort between the two units. And we really want to thank our people in communications and in our IT department. So finally, I just want to thank the team at VFairs who been with us for the last several months and who brought this event to a reality using their platforms. And finally, for today, I want to recognize Lena, our moderator, who was a GIZ consultant and as our moderator for this event, has performed outstandingly. Now, distinguished guests, today's launch is a leap of faith, although not a blind one. We did not come alone today or empty-handed, and we expect not to fizzle and falter, but rather to soar as we take to the sky in our race to the sun. Immediately following this launch, you will be able to access the webpage of the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge at oecs.org/solar-challenge. I'm hoping one of my colleagues will post that in the chat. This webpage already contains many useful resources with more to come. With your feedback, it will only get better. Today, the PSAs produced by the government of St. Lucia will begin rotation on that country's national television network, and will hopefully see similar rotation in other member states in the near future. We also invite you to look out for a virtual event targeted at the private sector, scheduled for either the last week of July or the first week of August 2021. This event will be organized with the kind support of our long-standing partners, Get Invest and Finance Catalyst. Also in the works is a second NDC forum scheduled for the end of November or the beginning of December. This follow-up to our highly successful first forum of 2018 had to be postponed in 2020 due to the pandemic, and it is our hope that we will be able to convene as planned this year. These are just some of the activities planned, and we encourage you to stay tuned. To borrow from the old saying, if we wish to go far, we should go together. Let us all take up the challenge so that we may reap success together. Thank you.
We have always had the sun, but we have not always taken advantage of it. Good news! Solar power is the energy of the future, and the future is here. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge is your chance to make a difference with your home or business solar electric system. Find out more about the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge or sign up at oecs.org/solar-challenge. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge. Join the race to the sun. An invitation from the Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative.
Look up at that bright hot sun. Have you installed solar panels on your home or your business premises since 1st January 2021? Are you looking to install new or additional panels? Come, join the Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge and be part of the drive to spread renewable energy across the Eastern Caribbean. Visit oecs.org/solar-challenge to learn more or to register. The Eastern Caribbean Solar Challenge, Race to the Sun, an invitation from the Caribbean NDC Finance Initiative.